and welcome back. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Alice, and I've been doing this work for over 20 years. Today's reading is one of those that I felt before I even pulled the first card. This one is for you if you're sitting with something heavy right now, a connection that matters to you, and lately it just feels stuck, like the air between you two has gone completely still. No movement, no progress, just this painful, exhausting silence. And maybe the hardest part? You know it shouldn't be you who reaches out first. But waiting is wearing you down in ways that are hard to put into words. If that's landing, stay with me. Drop a comment and let me know you're here. Let's get into it. Card 1, the Four of Cups. This card doesn't show up to fill a spot. It shows up when something has genuinely gone still, when a connection that used to have life in it has hit a wall and neither person is moving. A figure seated under a tree, arms folded, eyes cast downward, 3 cups right in front of them, and a fourth being offered from a cloud, extended toward them. They're not taking it, not even looking up, completely withdrawn. That's the energy between you right now, the natural back and forth, the ease, the momentum. It's stopped. And what you're left with is this heavy stillness that doesn't feel fair, because you didn't ask for this distance, it just arrived. I worked with a client once who described her situation as standing outside a house she used to live in, looking through the window. Everything familiar, everything just out of reach, just glass between her and something that used to be hers. That's the Four of Cups in real life. The connection isn't gone, but it is stuck, and the cards are going to show us exactly why and exactly what's coming next. Card 2, the Three of Swords. I'm not going to sugarcoat this one because this card never does. 3 swords piercing a heart, suspended in a stormy sky, rain coming down, no softness anywhere, just the pain laid completely bare. People see this card and panic. They think it means something is broken beyond repair. That's not what it's saying. What it's saying is what you're feeling is real. It's not in your head. It's not you being too sensitive. This hurts. And it deserves to be acknowledged. The hardest part isn't even the distance itself, and it's the injustice of it. I didn't do anything wrong, so why am I the one sitting here carrying this? But look at the imagery again. The heart isn't shattered. It's pierced, but it's whole. Still one piece, still beating. And storms don't set up permanent residence. They roll in, they make everything impossible feeling, and then they pass. You know, the first move needs to come from them. That's not stubbornness, that's your gut telling you something true. And the fact that it hasn't happened yet is its own wound sitting on top of the original one. That's a lot to carry, and you've been carrying it quietly. The cards see that. Card 3, Justice. A figure on a throne, completely still, completely composed, sword raised in one hand, scales in the other, eyes open, looking straight ahead without flinching. That's you right now. Here's what justice needs you to hear. You are not being stubborn. You are not playing games. What you're being is accurate. Your sense that the first move needs to come from them. That's not ego. That's your internal scales doing exactly what they're designed to do. That sword cuts through the whisper that says, maybe I should just reach out. Maybe I should be the bigger person. Justice looks at that whisper and says, no, you know what happened, and you know who needs to take responsibility for it. There's a difference between being the bigger person and being the only person. The scales aren't decorative. They're measuring this dynamic, the imbalance between what you've given and what you've received. And the reading is coming back clear. This isn't even. You already know that. Holding your ground inside the silence, when every part of you wants resolution, that's not passive. That's incredibly disciplined. And justice is validating every bit of it. The scales will balance. That's the nature of this card. It doesn't leave things permanently crooked, but the balancing has to come from the right direction. Stay with me, because the next card pulls back the curtain on what's actually happening on their side. Card 4, the Nine of Swords. A figure sitting upright in bed, head in their hands, in the middle of the night. 9 swords on the wall behind them. No enemy in the room, no visible threat, just a person, alone in the dark, overwhelmed by something happening almost entirely inside their own head. That's them. Right now. This distance was never about not caring. The Nine of Swords doesn't show up for someone who's moved on. It shows up for someone who is thinking about it too much, replaying things, lying awake, going over it again and again and getting nowhere. They know something needs to be addressed. They know it falls on them, and they haven't done it because they're terrified. They're running the scenario in their head, and they don't like how it ends. Afraid of your reaction. Afraid of the accountability. Afraid of the moment where they have to stand in front of you and be seen for exactly what they did. That wall of 9 swords, that's every version of that conversation they've already had in their head. This card is also about guilt, real guilt. Bone-level awareness that something was handled wrong and hasn't been made right. Every day that passes without action makes the thing feel bigger, more impossible to approach. And here's what I need you to take from this. Their fear of your reaction is actually a form of respect. Twisted and unhelpful, absolutely, but you don't lie awake dreading the response of someone whose opinion means nothing to you. Their paralysis is not peace. They are not okay either. Card 5. The 8 of Swords, a figure standing alone, blindfolded, arms bound, 8 swords planted in a circle, and in the distance, a castle, a way out. But they're not moving toward it. Here's what most people miss. Look at the bindings. They're loose. The blindfold isn't locked on. The swords have gaps. The imprisonment in the 8 of Swords is not imposed from the outside. It is almost entirely self-constructed. They could move. They're choosing not to. The 9 of Swords showed us they feel the guilt deeply. The 8 of Swords shows us what they're doing with that knowledge. Nothing. Because knowing you've done something wrong is one thing. Actually walking out of that circle of swords and saying, I know I was wrong, I'm sorry out loud, that requires something they haven't been able to summon yet. The blindfold is almost deliberate. If you can't fully see the situation, you don't have to fully respond to it. You can tell yourself it's complicated. You can tell yourself tomorrow, next week, when things settle. That murk is what you've been sitting in, and it's exhausting in a very specific way because you can feel that they know, and yet the silence continues. That's almost harder than if they simply didn't care. At least that would be clean. But that castle in the background isn't decorative. Like, the path out has always been there. The figure could take off the blindfold at any moment. And when they do, the way forward will be right in front of them. Card 6, the 5 of Cups, a figure in a dark cloak, head bowed, 3 cups spilled in front of them, contents gone, soaking into the ground. And behind them, just over their shoulder, on 2 cups, still standing, still full, but they're not looking at those. They are so locked onto what was lost, what was broken, what they did wrong, they cannot turn around to see what remains. That is the entire story of where they've been living inside this silence. The self-criticism has become a loop, a closed circuit that keeps generating shame without ever converting that shame into movement. And that's the cruelest thing about the 5 of Cups. It looks like grief, and it is grief, but it's also a trap. Because as long as you're staring at the spilled cups, you have a reason not to turn around. Turning around requires hope, and hope, after you've caused damage, feels dangerous. What if it's too late? What if I try and am told it's over? Drop a 4 if you've been watching someone punish themselves while you're the one paying the price for it. But here's what this card always carries underneath the grief. That bridge in the background. Behind the figure, beyond the 2 standing cups, there is a bridge, and on the other side, a home, a place where this doesn't have to end in permanent loss. The bridge is still there. The 2 cups are still standing, and the longing is growing. Every day that passes in this cycle of regret, the missing gets louder. You can't shut it down. You can only redirect it inward. And what's been building inward is starting to crack through in ways they can't keep managing. They miss you more than they've let themselves fully admit. Card 7, the Knight of Cups. Take a breath before I describe this one, because after everything we've moved through, the fear, the paralysis, the spilled cups, the self-constructed cage, this card landed and it felt like a door swinging open. A knight on a white horse, moving forward at an unhurried pace. Armor on, but decorated. This isn't a warrior riding to battle. One hand holds a cup, held out. Offered. That's them. That's the version of them that finally stepped out of the 8 of Swords circle, turned around from the spilled cups, and saw the bridge. The version that has moved through enough of their own reckoning to arrive at your door, not with excuses, not with deflection, but with something real in their hands, held out toward you. Drop a 5 if something just shifted in your chest. The Knight of Cups doesn't rush. That pace isn't avoidance, it's its deliberateness. The decision to come back is made in layers, and the layers are completing themselves. This card is telling you clearly the distance gets crossed. They come back, not dragged back, not cornered, but because something inside them chose to. The person who arrives has done something real inside themselves first. That matters. The quality of what comes back is different from what left. The white horse signals clarity. They're not arriving in confusion anymore. The fog of the Eight of Swords, the grief spiral of the Five of Cups, the paralysis of the Nine of Swords. That chapter is closing. The cup being held out is an acknowledgement. It's the gesture of someone who knows they owe you something and is finally prepared to offer it. The conversation that's been impossible to start is going to start. And it's going to go differently than the version they've been dreading at 3 a.m. Because you're not out to destroy them. You wanted truth. You wanted to be met. And the Knight of Cups is exactly that, in someone moving toward you with the intention of meeting you. The reconciliation is real. The communication is coming. And when it arrives, it will carry the weight of everything that was felt in the silence. That's not nothing. After everything this reading described, that's everything. 7 cards. 1 unbroken story. The Four of Cups. The stillness named. The distance confirmed. The connection that hasn't ended but has gone flat. The Three of Swords. Your pain validated. The injustice of carrying something that isn't yours to carry, acknowledged without softening. Justice. Your instinct confirmed. You are not the one who needs to reach out first. The scales are measuring this clearly. The Nine of Swords. The truth about their side of the silence. They are not at peace. They are lying awake with this. Their paralysis is not indifference, it's fear. The Eight of Swords, the self-constructed cage, the loose blindfold, the castle always visible in the background. The path out was always there. The Five of Cups, the loop of regret that's been running on empty, the bridge they haven't crossed yet, the longing that's been growing louder every single day. And the Knight of Cups, the answer, the return, the cup held out, the chosen, deliberate, real crossing of the distance. Here's the through line. You have been on the receiving end of someone else's fear, someone else's paralysis, someone else's inability to convert what they feel into what they do, and that has cost you. The cards today said it was never abandonment, it was always paralysis, and those are not the same thing. The drowning is ending, the movement is beginning. I want to step outside the reading for a moment and speak to you directly. You're not here because you're weak. You're not here because you can't let go. You're here because something quiet and steady inside you said, this isn't finished, that the story hadn't reached its real ending yet. The cards confirmed it, every single one of them. The waiting has cost you. The not knowing has cost you. Carrying someone else's silence, someone else's unresolved guilt. That takes something from you that deserves to be acknowledged. You've been patient in a way most people wouldn't have been. You've held space for someone who couldn't hold it for themselves. You kept something alive, some thread of belief, some refusal to fully close the door, through a period that gave you every reasonable excuse to walk away. That is a particular kind of strength that looks quiet from the outside and is absolutely enormous from the inside. The Knight of Cups is coming towards someone who held that thread. What arrives on the other side of this silence will know, on some level, what it cost you to still be there. And that knowing is part of what makes what comes next different from everything that came before. You did something hard. You did it with more dignity than the situation asked for, and what's coming is worthy of it. If this reading landed, drop a 6 in the comments right now. That's your energetic yes. That's you saying, I see this, I receive this. I'm not letting the fear and the waiting talk me out of what the cards just confirmed. And tell me which card hit hardest. The Nine of Swords, naming what you'd been sensing. The Eight of Swords, finally explaining the silence. The Five of Cups, showing you the loop they've been trapped in. Or the Knight of Cups arriving at the end and telling you, this isn't over, it's just beginning. I read every comment. Everyone. If you're new here, subscribe. There's more of this coming. Readings that go this deep that don't soften what needs to be named. You found this for a reason. Stay. Like the video. Share it with someone who needs to hear that the silence isn't the ending. The Knight of Cups is already on the way. The cup is already in their hand. The only thing left is for you to be standing there, present, open when they arrive, and leave the door open. Trust the thread you've been holding. The distance gets crossed. The cup gets offered. The door you kept open is exactly where they're headed, sending you so much love. See you in the next one.